Hey everybody, let's talk about something pretty common. A hamstring pull, or a strain, or a sprain, or some kind of way to describe the thing that happens to your hamstring when maybe you're running too much or too hard, or you lift weights in a weird way, or something happens. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what not to do, what not to waste your time with, maybe the better steps to take to help things get better. So let's start off with this. What is a hamstring? So basically a hamstring, which everyone probably knows, is this muscle on the back of your knee, right? So it's just a muscle. Here's your knee, and it's a muscle on the back, and it bends your knee. And there you go, there's a hamstring, right? There's a little bit more to it than that. There's, depending on what you read, 3 or 4 muscles make up the hamstrings, but forget about all that for a second. Let's just look at it like this. One thing that can happen at your knee is it can bend, right? So any muscle that bends the knee is maybe something we're going to talk about, and of those are the hamstrings. And you've got 3 hamstrings that cross the knee and cross the hip joint, and the hip joint is up here, right? So 3 of those muscles cross the knee, they also attach to the hip. So your hamstring is a hip muscle and a knee muscle. One of those hamstring muscles just crosses the knee, doesn't cross the hip. Okay, but if we're talking about the knee, we also have muscles that cross the knee, that cross the ankle. So your hamstring is not only a knee muscle, not only a hip muscle, but it's also an ankle muscle. And then we could kind of make this argument that if a muscle is crossing the hip and affecting the hip, and half of the hip is part of the low back, you can kind of say, well, the hamstring is a low back muscle, right? And then we can go on the other side and say, well, if we have a muscle that crosses the ankle, it's a foot muscle. So things blend a lot. They blend. Anyway, so this idea of hamstring, it's kind of a piece of a larger bunch of stuff that moves you, that helps you move around, helps you perform activities, bend your knee, bend your hip, moves your ankle, and affects lots of your body. Okay, so let's say you went for a run, right? And you pulled your hamstring. And so what does that look like? You know, running and you're like, ah, man, my hamstring, or whatever, maybe you got done and it felt kind of weird. The first thing I want to talk about is the following. When we talk about a pulled hamstring, I want to be clear on something. No one really knows what that is. So that's right. No one really knows what a pulled hamstring is. So think about this. There's all these really clear lines of advice, instructions, things to do. Go to YouTube. How to treat a pulled hamstring. People are so confidently telling you what to do. I want to let this be known to people. No one even really knows what it is. So if you go look up a strain hamstring, you'll see like different grades, strain 1, 2, 3, or pulled hamstring, and you're going to see things that say like a strain is, or grade 1 is maybe something like is like a mild strain, without ever really defining strain. A pull is even more undefined, and really it's super undefined, a pull. You're not going to get any clear definition of what a pull is. But then when you start looking at strains, grade 2 and grade 3 of strains, you're going to start to see things like mild tear or more severe tear. So you and I know what a tear is, right? If we tore our hamstring, we'd be really clear on what that is. That's like, I take something and it's torn. Whatever that material is, it's been deformed, torn, right? What more do I need to say about it? So is a strain a lesser of a tear then? Is a sprained hamstring or pulled hamstring, is it a tear? What is it? We don't, because we don't know what a pull is. Imagine if I said I pulled it, what does that mean? Does that mean I pulled it? That doesn't explain what happened, right? Muscles do this all the time when we do things. Run, jump, lift weights, whatever. Sit down, get up. So what is it, right? We don't know what a pull is. A strain, we sort of, I guess it's really a tear. So for a moment, let's just go with the more obvious ones, all the tears. How do we treat a tear? What do we do? Well, let me ask you this. Should we stretch something that's torn? So just imagine, let's make this simple because we all can visualize this. If I tore my skin somehow, whether it's a cut or anything, do you think a solution would be to stretch it? I'm going to stretch that skin. And I don't know if that's a solution to get it to heal, right? So if I tore a hamstring, call it a strain, call it something, because we really don't know what it is, right? We know what a tear is, but these other words were a little bit unclear. If I were to tear a hamstring, should I stretch it? Should that be the solution? I don't know. Let me tell you, you go online right now, you're going to find many solutions be stretch it out. It's like, I don't know if that's really the thing to do. What else? We have some other kind of sound advice like rest it. I'm good with that. Ice it if you want. It may help, it may not. The jury's still out on that, but whatever. So what do we do? So we went for a run and we felt this thing. What do we do? Aside from resting it, possibly seeing a doctor for an image if you want, if it's bad enough. By the way, if you see things like bruising or major swelling, probably go have it checked out. But in the situations where there's no bruising, there's no swelling, it's just kind of feeling yucky. I guess that's what we really mean when we say pulled, but I guess saying it feels yucky isn't sophisticated enough, so we have to call it a pull. What do we do? Here's the things I would never do. I would never use this weird thing called cupping, where they basically give you hickeys up and down your leg. I'm not even joking if you've never heard of it. I don't know about massaging either, right? Because now, can massaging feel good? Maybe. Will it heal the tissue? Just imagine if I have something on my skin that's torn, should massaging it help it heal better? It's kind of weird, right? What should I do? Should I adjust the bone? I need an adjustment. I don't know how it's going to heal the tissue, right? So what do I do? Well, something to consider is the quality of the motion of your muscle system, the quality of the control over your muscle system. And as a certified muscle system specialist, that's where I come in and that's what I do. So we look at someone who comes in and presents with like, hey, I got a pulled hamstring, what do I do? And we have this fairly involved intake where we collect a lot of information, and I say to them, give me the story, what happened, and you come to learn that there was no swelling, no bruising. Maybe they had images, nothing's torn, at least it's not showing up as torn, but they still have this pain, and when they try to use it, it hurts. I just want to share that I don't think a lot of these other treatments maybe make a ton of sense when it comes to, hey, like we already mentioned, let's stretch that muscle. What are we doing? If that thing is torn, I don't know what stretching is going to help. Let's rub it, let's massage it, let's put needles in it, let's suction it. These things are falling short. They don't have a lot of logic to support how they may actually help. And what is the problem anyway, right? If it's not torn, why is there pain or discomfort when you try to use it? That's where addressing the quality of control over your muscle system comes in. Because here's the thing. If the quality of your control over your muscle system is low enough, you can't move your body well, which means it may hurt when you move it. When you ask more of the system, it may hurt and you may not have all of the abilities that you would normally have. In other words, you may not have the correct range of motion. You may not be able to contract your muscles with the ideal amount of force. I'm going to play out one more thing for you. If you do have a limited range of motion, that doesn't mean a muscle is too tight. Remember, go back to this other thing. You ran, you pulled it, now you don't have the range. Is it too tight? It just tightened up? Something happened that caused it to tighten up. I don't think just stretching it, especially if it's torn, but I don't just think stretching it because it's too tight is the solution. What made it tighten up in the first place? What made your body say, I will not allow you that range of motion. I will not allow you the abilities you had prior to this incident. What I'm telling you is, you may be in this scenario, in this situation, because the quality of the control over your muscle system has decreased. If you want to have it assessed, if you want to see if that is your problem, reach out. Let me see if I can help you. Get you back to running, back to exercising, back to all the things you and the hamstring want to do.